Good morning, students. Today I am going to do the class 10 poem Amanda with you, which is in the CBSE syllabus. It is written by Robin Clay. And this poem, this poet, she's an Australian author who has composed many books for the children. One of her very famous or significant books is Hating Alison Ashley. This poem that we are going to study is very relevant to you. It is a very contemporary poem, I think, and the children, as parents, parents always try to discipline their children, to teach their children how to behave, and the children feel overburdened by the parents, by the strict parents. So this poem actually shows the attitude of the parents or the tendency of the parents to always discipline or teach their child mannerism, how to behave well, how to behave in society, and how the child reacts to the constant nagging, pursuing mothers or fathers. That is what we are going to see in this poem. Let's start. The first stanza. Without wasting time, I'll start. It's a long poem, so I will read stanza by stanza. Don't bite your nails, Amanda. Don't hunch your shoulders, Amanda. Stop that slouching and sit up straight, Amanda. There is a languid emerald sea where the sole inhabitant is me, a marmot drifting blissfully. So the first three lines of the poem. The first three lines of the poem, we see the mother who is trying to discipline the child. It is a very strict mother. It can also be a father. It is not mentioned that it is a mother, but we consider it to be a mother because usually a mother is more attached to a child. It is the mother who is entrusted with the duty of disciplining or teaching the child how to behave and how not to behave. So we consider the speaker of the poem to be a mother and not a father. Okay, if you say it is a father, then we cannot contradict. It can also be a father. But because of the mother's closer association with a child, we consider the speaker of the poem to be a mother. So the mother is constantly telling the child how to behave. Don't slouch on the couch. What is slouch? To lie lazily, with laid back shoulders. Don't hunch your shoulders, so don't bend your shoulders. Sit up straight. Maintain an erect posture. Maintain a straight posture. Don't bite your nails, so don't indulge in these bad habits. Maintain a disciplined life. Follow a disciplined gesture. Always follow a disciplined posture. Do not allow yourself to give in to bad habits, to yield to bad habits. What is the reaction of the child? There is a languid emerald sea. Languid, calm, quiet, serene. Emerald, deep green. So the sea is full of green weeds. So the color of the weeds is reflecting on the blue rippling water. So it appears to be green. Where the sole inhabitant is me. So the child imagines that she is the sole inhabitant. She is the only resident on that peaceful green sea, where she will have no one to scold her, to restrict her, to control her, to teach her, to discipline her on what to do and what not to do. She will swim like a mermaid. Who is a mermaid? Half human, half fish. And drift blissfully in the waters of the sea. What is drift? To be carried away by the water. What is blissfully? Peacefully, joyfully, happily. She will lead a free existence. She will lead a calm and quiet, peaceful existence in the blue water of the sea. She will be free from her mother. There will be no one to control her, to restrict her, to scold her. Now coming to the second stanza. In the first stanza, we have an anaphora. See, don't bite, don't hunch. Two lines begin with don't. So use of the same word twice, we call it anaphora. We also have an allusion. Mermaid. When you refer to something which is famous, it is a famous character of fairy tales, mermaid. So it is an allusion. And we also have a metaphor, emerald sea. So here emerald sea actually refers to the green sea, the sea which is full of green weeds. The color of the green weeds is reflecting against the blue water, the blue rippling water of the sea. So we call it the green weed, the green emerald sea, the emerald sea. Now we come to repetition. The word Amanda is constantly being used, so it is a repetition. then drifting blissfully. It is an imagery where you can almost visualize the girl drifting like a mermaid in the water of the sea. Alliteration I will not say, you will find out on your own. Next stanza. Did you finish your homework, Amanda? Did you tidy your room, Amanda? I thought I told you to clean your shoes. Amanda. I am an orphan, roaming the street. I patterns of dust with my hushed bare feet. The silence is golden, the freedom is sweet. So the mother continues to nag the child, to pursue the child, to do this and do that, to discipline the child, to tutor the child, to train the child with her stern, strict behavior, her scoldings. Did you finish your homework? The mother is asking the child. She does not give her a relief. She does not allow her to breathe. She is constantly nagging her, pursuing her, disciplining her. Did you finish your homework? Did you tidy your room? Did you clean your room? I have told you to do these things so many times and you are not obeying my instructions. You are a disobedient child who is not listening to me. Why, Amanda? Why are you so disobedient? The mother is not giving the child any space, constantly disciplining her. Now the child is saying, it is in parenthesis, because the child is not uttering this. Why are these lines in parenthesis or bracket? Because the child is not uttering this. She is not articulating her protest. She is not voicing her protest. She is not expressing her protest verbally. She is telling this to herself. She is thinking this to herself. I am an orphan, so I don't have any parents. Although her parents are nagging her, she feels that she is an orphan because she does not like her parents. It is not that she does not like her parents. She does not like the strict attitude of her parents, the stern scolding of the parents all through day and night. I want to roam the street. She wants to wander aimlessly in the street without any destination. She wants to break free from this strict, confined conditioning of her mother, the confined, strict attitude of her mother. She wants to escape from this. She does not like this. I pattern soft dust with my hushed bare feet. So on the sand, on the dust, I will walk with my bare feet, not wearing any shoe. And that walking will create beautiful patterns on the dust. As I will walk, I will trade on the dust, on the sand. My feet will leave beautiful marks, beautiful patterns on the sand. My feet will draw beautiful patterns on the sand. So she imagines a free life. She imagines a relaxed life. She imagines a life which will be free, independent from, free from the restriction of her mother, from the stern scolding of her mother. The silence is golden. This is a metaphor. The silence is so precious. Gold is a precious metal. So here silence is compared to gold. That silence is as precious as gold. I want silence. I don't want this constant nagging. Freedom is sweet. We don't use sweet with freedom. But here freedom is compared to a sweet thing, to cherish, to relish. I want to taste the sweetness of freedom, the sweetness of independence. I want to lead a life free from my mother. I don't want to be always tutored, disciplined by my mother. Because the mother is not allowing her her own space. I will tell you the meaning of this later, after I finish teaching the poem. Again we have did you finish, anaphora. Same word repeated. And I have already given you the metaphor. Freedom is sweet and silence is golden. Okay. Now we come. Don't eat that chocolate, Amanda. Remember your acne, Amanda. Will you please look at me when I am speaking to you, Amanda? I am Rapunzel. I have not a care. Life in a tower is tranquil and rare. I'll certainly never let down my bright hair. So here the mother is telling the child, is again telling the child, instructing the child that don't eat the chocolate. So again, she is restricting her from exercising her free will. Why? Because the chocolate is bad for her acne, pimple. Because children develop pimple, they also the teeth also get affected. So the mother is instructing the child not to taste the chocolate. Please look at me when I'm speaking to you. So the mother desperately seeks for attention. The mother wants, the attention to be focused on her. The mother is feeling neglected because the child is not paying any attention to her. The mother is feeling neglected. She's feeling ignored. She wants the child to pay attention to her. And the child is saying, I am Rapunzel, again an allusion, a fairy tale character, a girl with beautiful cascading blonde hair who let down her hair. You know who is Rapunzel? Rapunzel was a girl who was a princess who was confined in a very tall tower, and the prince came to rescue her from the tower. She let down her cascading hair through the window of the tower, and the prince climbed up the tower, using her hair as a rope, using the blonde as a rope, and rescued the princess from the tower. So here, this tower is symbolic. It signifies the confined, restricted life of the child in the strict vigilance of the mother, in the strict disciplining of the mother. The tower in which the princess was confined here symbolizes the restricted, confined life of the girl in the vigilance of the mother, strict, stern vigilance of the mother. She also wants a prince to free her, to take her away from this castle. So I am Rapunzel. I have not a care. I don't pay any attention to what you are saying. Life in a tower is tranquil. Tranquil is peaceful and rare. It is so rare. It is so difficult to attain. It is not so common. I'll certainly never let down my bright hair. So I will never be able to let down my bright hair. Will I ever be able to free myself? So she confirms that she will never be able to do this. She confirms to herself, I will never be able to break free from this. So again, Rapunzel is an allusion, a reference to a famous fairy tale character. And here we have repetition, again use of the word Amanda. Stop that sulking at once, Amanda. You are always so moody, Amanda. Anyone would think that I nagged at you, Amanda. So the mother is very sure of the fact herself that she nags at Amanda. So at the end, she herself confesses, anyone will think I nag at you. The way in which you are behaving, the way in which you are responding, any onlooker will assume that I nag you, I pursue you, I always dominate you and torture you. So she knows what she is doing very well. Stop that sulking. What is sulking? Grumbling. You are frowning, you are sulking, you are getting irritated, agitated at my behavior. Why? So the mother understands that the child is not accepting her regime, is not accepting her scolding in a good will. So what does the poem symbolize? The poem actually shows that parents have the right, actually they are supposed to always discipline their child, to behave strictly with the child, to discipline their child with stern behavior. But that should always have a limit. We should not behave so strictly or sternly with our children so that they start feeling confined, restricted, and they stop paying any attention to our instruction. We should always allow them to enjoy their space so that their personality is allowed to evolve. For the holistic development of personality, we should allow a child to enjoy her own space so that her creativity, her innovation are nurtured properly. If we do not allow a child to be in her own space, her personality will not be developed. She will never be able to express her innovation, her creativity, her inner talent, her inner potential will never blossom. Her uniqueness will never blossom. And in this way, her personality will be thwarted. She will become crippled mentally. She will not be able to express herself properly as it is required for the evolution of a personality. So that is what we as parents should remember, that it is our rule to discipline our child, to behave strictly or sternly with our child, but at the same time we should allow them to grow in their own space, to express their creativity, their innovation in their own space. We should not confine them or restrict them. If we do, then all our children will become like Amanda and they will stop ignoring us. If we nag our children, if we always keep on telling the children same thing again and again, they will not pay any attention to us. Our words, our instruction will lose importance to them. We will lose significance in their eyes. And in this way, we will never be able to rear them, to bring them up properly, to nurture them. We will never be able to teach them. We will never be able to discipline them, because we are always nagging them. So our words will lose importance to them and they will not pay attention to us. So we should not repeat the same thing again and again. We should not nag them. We should try to understand the psychology of a child. We should allow them to grow in their own space by understanding their psychology as well. Otherwise, the children will never listen to us and eventually they will start neglecting or ignoring their parents. That will not be good for the development, for the growth, for the nourishment of the child. So in order to continue to develop, to nurture a proper healthy bond with our children, rather a long lasting bond with our children, a long lasting everlasting bond with our children, an effective parenting requires allowing the child to enjoy her own space, child to enjoy its own space. Eat with child, neuter gender. So we should always try to allow them to enjoy their own space so that they don't feel suffocated, they don't feel pressurized, they don't feel overburdened, and they don't stop ignoring or neglecting us. So in order to develop or nurture an everlasting constructive bond conducive to the benefit of the children, constructive bond conducive to the benefit of the children, we should allow them to enjoy their own space, to nourish their innovation and creativity, their holistic development of personality. Otherwise, eventually we will lose significance in their eyes and they will not pay attention to us. Amanda is symbolic of all the children of the society. So it is a poem on effective parenting, how we can become better parents and be close to our children, how we can go close to our children and become good parents. Okay? So with this, I complete the poem. If you have any doubt, feel free to ask. I will try to create another video on this by discussing about the parent-child relationship.